Hey there, Pythonic Accountant here. Today we're going to start on a new series that I'm really excited about called Accounting Recipes. And specifically, we're going to be looking at accounting generative AI recipes. I like to use the word recipes that I borrow from a few other greats that I have followed before, especially David Beasley with his book of Python recipes. And what we're going to be looking at are ways that I can try to clearly share and communicate some of the ideas that I've got around using generative AI for different aspects of accounting. So in today's recipe, we're going to focus on SOC 2, specifically looking at SOC 2 reports and using generative AI to help analyze them, both for purposes as an accounting department that is looking at a SOC 2 report for a third party, as well as an auditor that's reviewing a SOC 2 report associated with one of their audit clients. So let's start by looking at a little bit more about what a SOC 2 report is and does. So let's go ahead and pop up my favorite explainer for things like this, ChatGPT. So a SOC 2 report, it stands for System and Organization Controls. It's an independent audit report that evaluates how well a service organization manages data, and it uses 5 criteria. It's got security, availability, like uptime and reliability, processing integrity. That's really important, making sure that the data is, has integrity when it goes in, comes out, etc. Confidentiality and privacy. And then there's 2 types. There's type 1 and type 2. Type 1 evaluates whether the controls are designed correctly at a point in time, and then type 2 tests whether those controls are effective over a point in time or over a period of time. So type 1 is good as a starting point, but most auditors and most organizations are going to want to see a type 2 report, which is more comprehensive and again tells you that not only were those controls designed correctly, but they're effective and they're working. So a little bit on why it's important to a company. So this gives trust in the third party that they're using, demonstrates that they take data protection and compliance seriously, which is really important if you're handling sensitive data, financial data. So for example, if you're a company that uses Microsoft for your business, many, in fact, probably most companies do. Microsoft has a SOC 2 report, SOC 2 Type 2 audit that says, hey, when you hand your data over to Microsoft by using Excel or Outlook or anything else that goes out of your network and into the cloud, they have followed the control design and effective controls that are required by SOC 2. So customer trust, it gives a competitive advantage. It helps with risk management, and then there's regulatory requirements around that as well, especially when you get into more sensitive data. Auditors also are very, very heavily reliant on SOC 2 because, for one, the data in financial reporting that moves outside of just a company's walls and a company's purview, now that falls into the control infrastructure for both IT controls and even financial controls to some extent. And so this allows the external auditor of the company to not have to go as deep in testing controls outside of that company because instead they can look at this SOC 2 report. So the idea is a third party company like Microsoft gets one SOC 2 report covering its suite of Microsoft products, and then all of the independent auditors of all the companies that use Microsoft only have to review the SOC 2 report rather than go and test controls at Microsoft themselves. And Microsoft isn't going to want to have hundreds of thousands of CPA firms going in and testing the same things over and over again. So it's just much more efficient. And that's really the main reasons why it's really useful. Now, some of the challenges that come in for both companies and auditors with a SOC 2 are actually one, reviewing the large files, and then two, using understanding how to understand and use something called user controls. So, like, what are the main challenges with using relying on a SOC 2 report, i.e., reading it and understanding how to interpret results and understanding the importance of and how to, uh, let's see, assess the user controls. So let's see if I got that right. Yeah, so the main challenges are complexity and technical language. So SOC 2 reports are technical audit style language, talks about trust service criteria, test exceptions. It can be dense, especially when non-auditors and business leaders try to understand it. And mitigating it, turning it into plain English summaries is helpful. Sometimes there's scope limitations that is important to understand whether something is out of scope and whether that adds risk to you as an organization or as to an external auditor. And the impact, again, a clean SOC 2 doesn't mean that it's risk-free. It just means that what was tested was clean results. And then exceptions versus real risk. So understanding when there are exceptions, is that actually a risk? How big of a risk is it? Again, interpreting that can be challenging. And then understanding the complementary user entity controls. Yeah, that's the term I was looking for. So SOC 2 reports assume certain controls have to be in place at the user organization. So let's say I'm running a company and I get a SOC 2 report from OpenAI, and I'm using OpenAI and ChatGPT as part of my business. Well, the SOC 2 report from OpenAI is going to be probably pretty strong, but it's going to say our SOC 2 report is assuming certain controls that you, as an organization using us, has in place, such as you're encrypting your data. If you're processing payroll, you have to review the reports. Oh, sorry, if the vendor's processing payroll, the client has to review the reports for accuracy. So, okay, so if I'm putting data in, like let's say I'm sending data to ChatGPT, ChatGPT gives me an incorrect output. Well, they're going to say, well, we're relying on you to provide correct inputs as part of it. And so, again, for a payroll processing company like ADP, they say, yeah, we're going to process it, we're going to apply our rules, but you have to provide us accurate data and you have to review those reports for accuracy. We're not going to be reviewing them for accuracy for you. And then same thing for this one, if the vendor encrypts data, that's right, if it's the vendor, the client has to enforce strong passwords because if there's no passwords or passwords are not great, then it just makes it difficult to have the rest of the security in place. Period of coverage can be confusing. For example, the test coverage was for a certain date range, but the audit period goes past that. They have to get something called a bridge letter or get additional testing to cover that gap. Because if the controls are in place and effective for half the year and you have no idea how they were for the rest of the year, there's a risk that the controls weren't working for the rest of that year. So you got to get over that risk somehow. And then over reliance, testing the SOC 2 as a complete guarantee of security and compliance can lead to missed risks, which definitely makes sense. So this is the reason why I think this is a great opportunity for a generative AI accounting recipe. So what I've done is I pulled together a few SOC 2 reports that I found online. Most SOC 2 reports are not publicly published and have limited use beyond the intended recipient to review and assess how it can be used. But these are a few kind of illustrative ones, one from AICPA. It might be the same one from AICPA here. And then there's this one here from SysAid. So what we're going to do is I've created a custom GPT. And in my custom GPT, I've got basically a prompt that I used. And I'm going to pull up my recipe here. And this is the prompt that I used in my custom GPT. So I'm sharing this in case you want to try this on your own. And basically saying you're a SOC 2 Audit Copilot. I'm going to provide you with some inputs. These are the kind of three phases that we're going to take. We're going to review the report first to see if there's any findings and help me understand. There's the phase two, help me come up with, and again, this is more from the perspective of an auditor, but this can easily be used as an internal company reviewing both the report and the user controls. And then response assessment. This is once the auditor or internal accounting department gets responses as to whether the complementary user entity controls are in place, assessing whether there's any residual risk in place or if it's good. So let's go ahead and pop open the GPT and let's see what this looks like in practice. I haven't actually tried it out yet, so we're going to test it out together. The other thing I've added is a checklist. So this is really helpful. So if you as an organization, or if you want to use like an AICPA checklist, you can have that be available for this custom GPT to get an understanding of what it should be looking for specifically and even filling out that checklist. So let's go ahead and add a file. So I'm going to go into my SOC 2 reports and let's start with this one here. I'm going to say, let's see, build plain English risk table for this SOC 2 report. and tell me where my main risks lie, what I should do about them. So it's looking at the knowledge base to look at the checklist, and then it's going to hopefully look at the PDF file, and wow, that's pretty quick. So again, just like anything else with AI, you want to review this yourself, look at the source data. So if I was doing this in practice, either as a company or as an external auditor, I wouldn't just take this and go with it. I would take this as a starting point and then look at the underlying files and validate whether this is, correct or not. So you've got their control areas, customer access management. The issue is customers are responsible for deleting virtual server admin accounts when staff leave. If you miss it, ex-employees can retain privileged access. That's a common risk and a major issue when not addressed. And so the potential audit impact here is that weak offboarding may allow unauthorized access. So severity is high. So what I'm missing here is this doesn't say whether this was actually identified as an issue. So there's other ones there. I'm curious. So what I'm going to ask is, can you, let's see, can you update this to indicate what the actual testing results were from the uploaded PDF SOC2 file? Because I'm curious if it actually gave the results from the SOC2 file. Okay. All right. So yeah, this is a high severity area if the issue is not mitigated. But what it says is the control was in scope for the vendor accounts. Semi-annual reviews are performed and no exceptions were noted. So that's good. So it means that in this case, this one is not an issue. This next one where it says privilege accounts, configuration changes, customers can alter firewall antivirus settings, that's excluded from SOC 2 scope. Not tested, explicitly carved out to customer responsibility. So again, this is one that sounds like the risk shifts fully to us as an auditor, if I'm the auditor, or to the company to manage themselves. So this we should see this fall into the user entity controls. So that'd be interesting to see when we get to that part if it does show up there. Password management, no exceptions. Vendor access controls, no exceptions. Subservice organization, this one excludes testing. And then penetration and vulnerability testing, no material exception. So this is good. This helps me organize it into major control areas. It doesn't get into the weeds. It pulls it into plain English, which I really like. So it says the biggest risks are outside of the scope, which is really probably common that, the SOC 2 audit results will often not find anything major, or if it does, there's mitigations in place. So the more important thing is understanding what's the scope of that SOC 2 audit and what are the risks now that you understand what is not in scope, meaning what was not tested. So customer offboarding, customer controlled configs, and subservice organization. So maybe these aren't issues. Depends on what my focus is as an auditor and where my financial statement risks lie. But I like what this says. Don't relax because no exceptions were found. The SOC 2 show providers controls worked, but carve out areas share responsibilities. So yes, let's move on to the CUEC. Identify what is important. I'm going to ask the uh, user entity. So let's see what it gives me here. All right, so here are the complementary user entity controls. Access management, customers must request deletion of virtual server administration accounts. That makes sense because they're not going to know to delete them automatically. Configuration and security, customers can change these. These are outside of the SOC 2 scope. Customers responsible for maintaining hypervisors. Customers must implement encryption solutions. Vendor oversight. So what I didn't see is privilege access and configuration changes. Let's just take another quick look here. Oh, you know what? I think that is covered in what we see here. Just to clarify, you see privilege configuration included in CUECs. Yes. Okay, they are included in the CUECs. So what this says is we're going to make up some client responses and see how it assesses those in a red, yellow, green. I really like that idea. We might want to change the the custom GPT's instructions to do that on a consistent basis. So let's say here are answers. One, employees are terminated, and on a monthly basis, let's see, Bob, the janitor, reviews the Excel spreadsheet of managers' reports on who was terminated and prints it out for Sandra, the IT controls, IT leader, to remove their access. So that should hopefully throw a red flag in a few ways. Configuration security, who reviews and approves firewall. Nobody reviews firewall. Antivirus, we just click update when it comes to us from Microsoft. Free encryption, what is encryption? And let's just, we'll do one more, we'll do password management. For passwords are initially set as password 123 and are required to be changed annually. And no multi-factor. So this should throw up a whole bunch of red flags here. And this is important because this is going to show why understanding the user entity controls are important and how to kind of ask those questions and how to then determine what to do from there. So access offboarding, monthly spreadsheet by the janitor, printed for IT leader to remove. This is inadequate. Process is manual, it's delayed, it's handled by a non-IT personnel, risk of terminating users, retaining access for weeks, no reconciliation to HR records, all good call stuff. Recommendation, automate access deprovisioning tied to HR. At a minimum, require IT review within 24 hours of termination, not monthly. That's great. Privilege access config changes, inadequate. There's no review. Updates just clicked when prompted. There's no oversight, no logging, no validation. Firewall and antivirus are excluded from SOC 2 scope. So this is a high residual risk. Recommendation, assign IT security owner to review firewall antivirus configs quarterly. Document baseline changes. These are great. Encryption. What's encryption? Inadequate. No encryption implemented or understood creates critical data confidentiality risk. So immediately implement encryption at rest and in transit for sensitive systems. Train IT team on encryption basics. That's great. Password management. Default. No MFA. Required to change only annually. So inadequate because there's weak default password. Annual change interview. Far below best practices and no MFA. Easily exploited. Very good. Require strong passwords at account creation, enforce reset on first login, and rotate every 90 days, implement NFA. These definitely feel like best practices to me. So, this is great. A residual risk memo. So needs remediation, high priority, get the offboarding, config management, the encryption, password management. Auditor can address via testing, lower priority, none. Current responses reveal gaps so severe that substantive audit testing alone would not even mitigate risk. These require client remediation. That's really good. Disclaimer, human review required. Do not I love it. Do not rely solely on this output. Like, as I said, don't rely solely on this output from the ChatGPT. This could be incorrect, and you still want to make your own judgment call. This is why this is not ever going to, it shouldn't replace auditors completely. It can be used to enhance and help auditors. And same thing for accounting professionals who are running the organization. This is going to help them understand and help them get things right, but it's not going to replace them. So there you have it. That's my first recipe, the SOC 2 Audit Copilot. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you were excited to see some more recipes come out, excited as I am. And leave some feedback in the comments if you like this and if you have any suggestions for more. We'll see you at the next one.